That's only a year and a half old?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's not very good.
Aber das first time normally comes here up.
Yeah. So that's a fairly new tank, and it's sprung
That's
a
the
leak.
problem. Here was the leak, the pressure.
Just shot it out. Little action this morning. Oh man, it's already went and got a new water tank. And buddy, how much did you pay for the tank, if you don't mind?
9,500.
Okay, so 9,500 for this tank. Now this is stainless, right?
Yes, it's stainless.
Okay, so this is a stainless steel tank. Looks like it comes with some type of warranty.
It's not warranty, it just shows about the pressure. What's the maximum pressure of it here? To
Okay.
give you warning. So
Now is this an 82-gallon tank? Is that right? Or-
yeah, 82 gallon. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like 82. And so folks, this one's stainless. I think this one's gonna last. But basically what happened,
The other one is it's also stainless.
oh, that one's stainless too? That looks like galvanized. Okay.
But it's galvanized. Oh, it's galvanized, I think.
Yeah, that's galvanized.
galvanized.
Looks galvanized.
Yeah, because that's what we installing that in the lockdown. To get a hot time, to get a dumpster time.
Ah, okay, yeah,
Because
during the
in
lockdown, it's hard
yeah,
to
was
find
the
a tank.
lockdown, yeah.
So yeah, that looks galvanized.
That was galvanized. I hope this one is better.
Yeah, that one's gonna be better, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember how much you paid for this one?
I don't remember
Don't remember.
it anymore.
But it's
because
only a year and a half old.
yeah.
So anyhow, folks, we woke up this morning. There was no water, and you know, occasionally the water gets turned off. They're working on the lines or what have you. And so I said, just give it a little while. And then finally, the ladies noticed over here there was water coming out of the pump house, and that's the culprit right there. And it looks like, oh, it's sprung another leak around there too. Come on around the back here. I don't know if that was his doing, bleeding the lines out, but yeah. So year and a half, and it's already busted out the bottom. All right, folks. Now you hear me talk about the brownouts, right? How they affect the water. So hopefully I'm going to explain this properly, and if you're a plumber and I mess something up, just please correct me. My buddy just explained it. So you have the water that comes in through here and comes into the storage tank. So this is coming in from the street, from the city water, right? And certain areas you have enough pressure, some areas you don't. And that's why you have to have this system like this, right? So the water comes in here. This is your storage tank. And it comes over. And when the pressure in this tank, this is the pressure tank, gets below, what is it, 40 PSI, I think he said. This tank, or this pump, kicks on. And it fills this tank up to like right here. And then you have air pressure up in here. That's what creates the pressure, right? And therefore you have water pressure. So these two tanks work together. Now this morning we had electricity, but what happened, we had a leak right here. So obviously it's just pushing all the water out, and we didn't have any water pressure in the house. But the brownouts here in the Philippines are the issue, because when you have a brownout, obviously that electric pump is not going to work. So say the tank is full and you have a brownout, there's no electricity. It's going to give you water. It's going to give you water, but it's only going to give you a little bit of water until this pressure up here gets so weak it don't pump any water. So you're not even getting a full tank of water once that pump stops working. So again, if you're confused as to why you have this set up, in a lot of places, the water coming off the street is not a strong water pressure. It's just like a trickle, right? So in Southeast Asia, in a lot of places, you have to have a tank so that trickle of water, you know, overnight, whatever, fills up your tank. Some people have underground tanks. If you'll look at condo buildings, sometimes they have these big tanks on the roof. They'll have maybe 6, 7, 8 of these things. Okay, so anyhow, that's the water system, and it's dependent upon electricity. So when you have a brownout, use your water very sparingly, because you know here it's unpredictable. You don't know when the power is going to come back on. Okay, this you're going to put a pressure gauge here.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the upper part that gives you the pressure for the whole water. The pressure gauge here.
There's a pressure gauge over
Hier,
there.
das wird wie hier so installed.
Okay.
Dass der electronic box, when the pressure is enough high, the electronic box switch off the power, so
Okay.
the pump has no more power. And so as soon the pressure goes down to 20, 22, the pump either goes on,
It kicks
and
back
will
on.
pick up to 40.
Up to 40. This is your intake valve here
Yeah.
from the pump.
And on the back is the for supporting all
That
the
goes-
water going to the house.
Yeah, that goes to the house right there. All right, so you got it disconnected over there, but it's still heavy as hell because it's still got water in it. All right, so that's where it's gonna come in from the pump. That's where it'll run out to the house. There's your pressure right there. Over at our place in Barreto, this kid came over. And he basically put some around a piece of PVC pipe and he just shoved the other piece in there. And I tried to explain to him, I said, that's not how you use this. This is for threads. He had no idea what I was talking about. He just used that sort of, I don't know what the word is, but just to jam it together where it wouldn't come apart. Folks, when we talk about, you know, just certain basic preparations, now these are our drinking water containers. They're only about 50 cents to fill the things up. And we have 8 of them, but you know, if you have a water outage or a water problem, you know, you can use a couple of jugs of those water to wash the dishes or take a shower or flush the toilet, what have you. So you can never have too many of these for drinking water and just for emergency situations like this. But there you go. Those are, I think right now, 20 cents or 20 pesos, so 40 cents. Just say 50 cents each to fill them up. They're delivered. So, you know, if you're here, make sure you have plenty of those. You can never have too many of those water jugs. Yeah, man. You made it look easy. Drug this old beast out, and we got the new tank in there. Now all he's got to do is hook up the connections. We'll take a good look right there. That thing, sure enough, is split. Like somebody stabbed it with a knife almost, but it's not, because obviously it's pushed out. The pressure blew it out, and it's not along the weld; it's along the seam. Which, you know, when you bend metal, obviously there's a weakness. That was not the only spot. There was another spot somewhere. But there you go. And this is a steel tank. Get the name of it here. That's a 310 liters or 82 gallons. Material was that galvanized 15, if I had to guess. Recommended working pressure 20 to 40 psi, and it came from that business right there. So there you go. Lasted 1.5 years, and he said this is, you know, what they could come up with during the lockdown. Obviously, you had to get what you could get. Let's see where the other spot is. Where the hell is it? I don't know. But there was more than one spot where it was busted. Oh, right here. Looks like right there too. everything looks proper. You can brew beer in there. Folks, if you're moving over here, highly recommend that you rent a place at least for a year before you decide to buy or build. Hey, I'll never tell you how to spend your money, but you know, I have opinions and throw my advice out there. Take it or leave it. That's your choice. But if you're thinking about retiring, moving to Southeast Asia, I highly recommend that you rent for several reasons. At least for the first year. For example, you want to move to Angeles City. You've been dreaming about it for 10 years. You come here and you rent. After 6 months, you might realize, I don't want to live in Angeles. I want to live down in Cebu or Mindanao, because you met a girl and that's where her family's from. Maybe you want to move down there. I don't recommend moving next to your wife's village, but that's another topic. But the point is, if you rent, you can easily move. Or say you stay in the Philippines for 6 months and you say, I don't want to live in the Philippines, I want to live in Thailand. Well, if you came over here and bought a condo, or you know, you bought some land with you and your wife or what have you, you sank a bunch of money into dirt, brick and mortar here, you can't just leave. And what a lot of expats figure out is that when you buy or build a house that's, you know, an expat type house, in other words, you got $100,000 plus in it, you can't sell it. Ask anybody that's trying to sell their house if they're an expat and it's a big expat type house. It's very difficult because your pool of buyers is tiny. Let me say that again. Your pool of potential buyers for your big $300,000 US dollar house that you built over here, it's a small pool of buyers because it's a cash business. You're gonna have to find another expat that wants to live in this area, that has the money, and it's slim, it's hard. Anybody will tell you that. Now, if you go out and build a little small house and say you have, you know, $30,000 in it, well, it opens up your pool. You know, because the middle class here is coming on up. You know, more people are buying houses and stuff. So I highly recommend you rent until you figure out exactly where you really want to stay. And maybe in 6 months you realize you want to go back to the States. If you have all your money in your US bank account, just pack your bags and go. If you just spend $100,000 on a condo, or you know, 200 or 300 doing whatever you're doing, that money is like an anchor that ain't coming out of the ground. Very difficult. So you rent. That leads me to the next point of this block of instruction. Okay, when you rent, you need to be interviewing landlords. All right, if you're renting more than a month at a time, it makes a big difference who your landlord is. For example, our water went out, big problem. Okay, my buddy, who's also my landlord, was over here in 20 minutes and realized that this was a huge job to change out the tank. It wasn't just a fuse or electrical connection. No, the damn tank was leaking. He was here in 20 minutes. Holy shit, we need a new tank. He runs up. I think the place was closing at 1 o'clock or something. He got up there, got the tank. We're almost got the, well, I can't take any credit. He did all the work. He's almost got the thing installed. And so by this afternoon, we have water again. That tank cost close to 10,000 pesos. If you rent a place from some local folks, the question is, do they have enough buying power that if your water tank goes out, can they just run out right then and spend 10,000 pesos? And I hate to say it, but for the most locals, they can't do that. Now you have a problem. How are you gonna get your water fixed? And a lot of times the local landlord is like looking at you to fix it. Why? Because you have the money and you're the rich foreigner. And so it's a challenge. And also a lot of times when I've rented from locals in Southeast Asia, you don't get your deposit back. It's just the way it is. All right, so whatever deposit you give them, you're not getting that money back. You want to hear the Condé Nast version? Top 10 places to retire. Number 1, Chiang Mai. Number 2, Boracay. Or you want to hear fucking real life. Okay, so these are issues you need to think about. Yes, you're gonna get a cheaper rent. You go with a cheaper place. Maybe it's a local landlord. But when shit breaks, can you get them on the phone? And B, are they gonna fix it? C, do they have the money to fix it? D, are they gonna be looking at you to fix it? And you have to weigh this against, well, maybe I get a little bit nicer place. You know, the landlord's a foreign guy and his Filipina. Who's gonna show up when the water tank breaks? And how long is it gonna take them to show up? These are things you think about, you need to think about, but you won't think about until the shit happens to you. So there you go. That's a dose of reality. But you have to understand their position too. You know, your local folks, however you've scraped up the money, put the money together to have a place to rent out, you're dependent upon that money coming in every month. And if something goes out like the aircon or the water tank or something big, folks, it's difficult for them to go out and replace it like that. They don't got credit cards. So you have to have understanding for them. But in the same sense, if you're a renter, you know, you don't want to be paying to fix things that should be the landlord's job, right? So anyhow, be particular about who your landlord is when you move to Southeast Asia. Things you don't think about. Am I the bearer of bad news? No, I'm the bearer of fucking reality. Okay? And again, shout out to my buddy here, best landlord in the world. Took him 20 minutes. I'll be right over. Boom. I was in there trying to eat a hamburger, and I hear him out here with a new tank. And he's done most of the work because I'm just being his way. Anyhow, man, thanks for coming over, getting our water back running. We certainly appreciate it. And it's a Sunday. I hated to call you, man. I was like a Sunday morning out of all the days in the week. You know, I've been a landlord before too. And the calls never come in at the middle of the day. It comes in Saturday night, Sunday morning. That's the joy of being a landlord. All right, folks, we got water going in here already.
To check if there's no leak somewhere.
Looking dry as a bone. Folks, coming to you live from the pump house. Yeah. Thank you very much, brother, for coming over, man. My goodness, folks. It was like I called 911. Once I sent the text, he's like, all right, I'm on my way. And he was over here quicker than the ambulance. My goodness. If you called an ambulance in the Philippines, we'd still be waiting. But my man come over here and changed out a water tank. Oh, Lord. All good? Now, I do have a good plan for this thing. This would be a hell of a smoker. Or a hell of a barbecue grill. Take this over to a little welding shop. Tell them to chop that thing up. All right, Houston, we have a problem. It's at 45, it's not shutting off. Gotta check the electronics. Whitney, Houston, we've had a problem. What's happening is, once we got everything turned back on, hooked up, it's supposed to cut off at 40, it kept going. And then he's trying to adjust it, it still wants to go. So now it's all making sense. Maybe it wasn't actually the tank that just failed. It was the pressure gauge, the pressure switch, and it was just like a runaway pump. It just kept pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping, kept putting pressure in there until boom, blew out the bottom. So maybe that was the root cause. The secondary cause was blowing out the bottom of the tank. No, the tank blew out secondary to a electronics malfunction. I'm a redneck. I know these things. Oh yeah, it's all good now. Look at that water pressure. Wash down that chicken. All right, folks, we're back in business. It's all good now. My goodness. There you go. Shout out to my friend Warner. Thank you very much, buddy, for getting us back in business.